G'day legends, so the UFC lightweight division is a goddamn mess right now and the UFC don't seem to be announcing what is going forward. So last night, I sat down on the stream with the absolute council of bloody chads. Thank you guys so much for always joining me on the streams. And we sussed out together how to fix the UFC lightweight division because it is a goddamn mess. It is a goddamn mess. Let me show you what the UFC want for the UFC lightweight division right now. And then I will explain to you guys exactly how we fixed it. And again, this is because a lot of people just watch the videos. They don't jump in the live streams. So this way, everybody is all caught up and we're all on the same bloody page. Let me turn that down because that red is getting a little bit erotic right now. It's looking like the front door of a 1920s whorehouse. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Anyway, move on. Right, so this is how the UFC want the lightweight division to be right now, okay? As you can tell, it is an absolute mess. We sorted it out. Why have I got Islam Makhachev versus Justin Gaethje at the top? Because it's obvious that that is what the UFC has been trying to push on us for the last, what do you reckon, 2 weeks? And it's all because of Ali Abdel bloody Abziz, mate, is managing Islam Makhachev and Justin Gaethje. So he is hoping to double dip while the UFC figure out what is going on with the rest of the lightweight division. I also think he is trying to double dip while they wait to see if JDM... When we, JDM and I, we the boys and JDM, beat Bilal Muhammad. So this is sort of like a placeholder title fight that doesn't do anything for the division. Then you have got Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. This seems to be heavily rumored. Dustin Poirier is being a little bit of a sook. I get it. It's your legacy fight. It's your last fight. You want it to be fun. But he's saying, I only want legends, man. Only want legends, okay? I just don't like Paddy Pimblett. I don't respect the dude. And then, of course, you got Moicano versus Beneil Dariush. This seems to be like a fight that they're running back. The next problem is you've got Arman Tsarukyan that the UFC just absolutely want to punish. Yeah, nobody believes that you were actually injured, bro. You were ready to fight Gaethje on short notice like 5 weeks later. No one believes that you were injured, yeah? You got Michael Chandler who just lost. You got Dan Hooker whose hand's going to be getting better. Ilia Topuria who has just moved up and is causing all sorts of bloody strife for the division, and then Paddy Pimblett has just worked his way up. So this is sort of what people are thinking to do with the lightweight division, and it doesn't really fix anything. There's a couple of problems here, right? So you got Chandler, yeah, who just lost. He needs to fight somebody, and he needs to be punished. He needs to fight somebody with a name. The problem with Chandler is, guys, he is on like 500k to show plus bonuses. Chandler usually walks away with about 700k in his pocket, and the problem is you can't put him in there against a nobody. Like, they need to have a name. That's why Chandler just fought Pimblett, because Pimblett's on his way up and he's got he's got the UK behind him, which counts for something. So Chandler, he is a problem for the UFC financially, right? Pimblett, he just did great. And a lot of people seem to be coming out of the Pimblett fight by saying, let's have him against Charles Oliveira, which is a great matchup. You know what I mean? Like, Pimblett striking against Charles Oliveira striking. Charles is probably going to win that. The best call-out Pimblett made was to Charles saying, lad, I dispute it, lad. I can't do it. That was more of a Molly McCann drunk, eating a bunch of kebabs on the side of the road, vomiting. Lad, Paddy, lad. That's more of a Molly. But you get what I'm saying. Paddy Pimblett wanted Charles Oliveira, wanted to test out his neck. I mean, like, submission, not like... like, submission-wise, not... you know, like John Jones-wise, test out his neck, not his throat. Yeah, his neck, like submit him, see how he goes with him. You got Arman Tsarukyan who's being absolutely punished. He needs to fight somebody. Dan Hooker, right? Dan Hooker, he needs to be fighting somebody. Yeah, you could do Dan Hooker versus Ilia Topuria because it seems like Ali Abdel bloody Aziz, mate, up the top here, is trying to get Islam Makhachev to fight at least one person because I feel like he's trying to protect Islam Makhachev, which makes sense. He's his agent. He's meant to get him the easiest fight for the most money possible. Why would you have him as Ilia Topuria? So you could say Ilia Topuria versus Dan Hooker, right? You could say Michael Chandler, he's got to get punished by someone. Do you do Michael Chandler versus Arman Tsarukyan? Do you do Michael Chandler versus Arman Tsarukyan? That's hardly punishing Chandler. Like, what if Chandler beats Tsarukyan? Then all of a sudden, Michael Chandler is right back up there in title contention again. Does Michael Chandler really deserve the #1 contender? Absolutely not. No. Screw Michael Chandler. So, no, he shouldn't be doing that. It should be Michael Chandler versus Ruffy. Ruffy has the name. He has got the fighting nerds behind him. He's got the fighting nerds storyline. He's not ranked. Chandler versus Ruffy is the fight to make. But unfortunately, this leaves Arman Tsarukyan, who Dana White is very annoyed at, just sitting in this sort of hotel room chair. You know that chair in the corner of every hotel room that's there for some reason? It leaves Arman Tsarukyan just sitting on that chair wondering what to do, just looking around. Like, he has got nobody to fight. And no matter which way you mix and match the UFC lightweight division like this, it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone at all. So you got a few things that are a problem here. Listen, I think Dana White and the UFC need to tell a couple of people, one of them being Ali Abdelaziz, the other one being Dustin Poirier, and also Gamrot here, poor old Gamrot here, to be like, listen, we need to mix things up. We need to put our foot down. And this is what the boys, the Council of Chads, came up with. If Justin Gaethje really wants to have a title shot, really wants to have a fucking crack at Islam Makhachev, then Justin Gaethje, you can fight. You can fight for a title shot. You can fight the number one contender. Justin Gaethje versus Arman Tsarukyan for a number one contenders fight, right? But that leaves the champ on the hotel room chair. And we can't have the champ on the hotel room chair. He's the bull. He's the one that's getting in there to actually do the work. So you can't be having him on the hotel room chair. Islam Makhachev is 2 fights away from being the greatest MMA fighter of all time. His next 2 fights really matter. So it can't be against anybody. Ilia Topuria needs to be the one. But then that puts Dan Bloody Hooker, mate. Come on, Volk, okay, let's go, Volk. That puts him on the middle of the hotel room chair. That's not fair to Dan Hooker. That's not fair to Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is number 5 in the UFC lightweight division. He is on a win streak. He is on his way back up. You do not punish someone who is on their way back up. That's not fair at all. That's not fair at all. Dan Hooker is a legend. We've already seen Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier. That is one of the greatest fights of all time. That is one of the greatest fights of all time. Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier. Maybe run that back. Maybe run that back. However, I don't know. What the council came up with, they went, do Dustin Poirier versus Paddy Pimblett. Look, someone has to take Paddy. He's the rising, charging, up-and-coming contender. Dustin Poirier is technically coming off the loss to Islam Makhachev. So he's one of the fighters on the way down, not one of the fighters on the way up like Dan Hooker is. And this is the UFC, man. The old eat the new. So I think Dustin Poirier, we respect you, we love you, we want your last fight to be in Louisiana. It should be. And the timeline sort of works out as well for that. So I think you do Dustin Poirier versus Paddy Pimblett. Everyone in the chat seems to agree with that. They seem to be very, very happy with that. That leaves Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, and Dan Hooker all sitting in the chair at the same time. Now that is a sweaty hotel room right there. That we don't like that at all. Now, a long time ago, in a division far away, on a network called Fox, there was a time when Max Holloway fought Charles Oliveira. Now, unfortunately, on that very night that Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira met shirtless in the cage, Charles Oliveira's throat gave out. Now, that again is not another John Jones joke. Charles Oliveira's throat imploded, okay? I don't know if the hotel was serving hot dogs. I don't know if they had I don't know what was down there, but Charles Oliveira's throat gave in. Now, Charles Oliveira's throat has become exceedingly stronger since then. I don't know what Charles has been doing, but he has been doing throat exercises. So I think you run that back. You do Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira 2. Now that is a fight, yeah? Now we're on here. Now we're cooking with fire. Dustin Hooker, though. Dustin Hooker still needs a thank you. Not a thank you, but a well done for moving up the division. So, we can't have Dustin Hooker sitting on the chair. I think Moicano should get rewarded for taking the fight on short notice. Yes, he was training for Beneil Dariush. Yes, he was. He was going to fight on the same night anyway. But Beneil Dariush is not the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, man. There's a difference between fighting Beneil Dariush and Islam goddamn Makhachev, okay? All right, so Moicano needs a favor for doing the UFC a favor. That's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying. So I think you do Moicano a fight night, fan favorite fight night, fight of the, maybe a feature fight, whatever, big event, big pop, big crowd. Moicano versus Dan Hooker. That is a nice little thank you. And as for Beneil Dariush, mate, listen. A long time ago, Wonderboy turned down a fight because his opponent didn't make it on short notice, and the UFC punished him by not paying him. Beneil Dariush, he's lost his last 2 fights. However, the UFC paid him in full because Moicano got taken off his roster and moved in against Islam Makhachev. So as a thank you, the UFC said, you know what, Beneil, this isn't your fault. You did your job. You showed up. And they paid him in full, which is very rare for the UFC. But the UFC is a cunt of a company. it's a dodgy company. Not dodgy, but, you know, it's a what have you done for me lately? And it's reciprocal either way as well. You know, like it's, Beneil, we paid you for that fight. You are still on a 2-fight skid. You owe us a fight. So I think you fix lightweight, and the chat came up with fix lightweight by Grant Dawson. Beneil Dariush for Grant Dawson. The thumb himself. Stick a thumb up Beneil Dariush. That is the way to go. Why is the versus not there? That little thing is annoying me. There we go. And that fixes lightweight. And what is great about this is you have got a #1 contender fight here. If Paddy gets through, the UFC can pull a Khalil Roundtree and he can fight for a title. You got a #1 contenders fight here. You've got punishment and name value when it comes to the fighting nerds here. This closes the loop on lightweight perfectly. Perfectly. No one is left on the hotel room chair. This is absolutely perfect. And you can book this in. And if Islam Makhachev does dip out to fight JDM because JDM is the king, then you can have an Oliveira step in. You can have an Oliveira step in to fight Ilia Topuria. It just works out perfectly, or whoever is the healthiest. But let's be real, right? Like, JDM is going to beat the hell out of Belal Muhammad so badly. JDM's fists are probably going to need some healing. There's going to be a little bit of a turnaround time until JDM is ready to get back in there. So I believe there is time to book in Islam Makhachev for International Fight Week. There is time for JDM to beat Belal. And this works out. This works out absolutely perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. The risk is, and I think the big reason they don't want to do it, I think the reason that they want to do Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev, this is why. I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all, what we've ended up here. But I think the reason they want to do Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev is because it's a guaranteed win for Islam. Not guaranteed, but it's a good bet for Islam Makhachev to beat Justin Gaethje. So you can run Islam Gaethje and not risk Islam missing out on his champ shot for when JDM does get through Belal. You know, like if you do Islam versus Ilia Topuria, there's a chance. There is a chance that Ilia Topuria beats Islam Makhachev and you lose the super fight later down the line. There's so many moving pieces at lightweight right now. It's very, very fun to watch. It's exceedingly interesting, but that is it. This is how us, the boys on the live, decided that the UFC lightweight division should be going forward. If you like this video, leave it a like. If this is your first time here, g'day. My name is Dougie. I try and go live at... What am I doing? My name is Dougie, and I make an MMA video every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. And I try and go live at least 3 times a week. We're on the live streams. We do fun things like that. Try and stack the division. Yesterday, we did a list of the top 10 greats of all time. Now that Alexander Volkanovski has shoved himself into the GOAT conversation. That's that. So, if you like this video, give it a like. And if you're one of the paying members of the channel, thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you. Your names are up on the next slide. But that is it. Until then, I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day.